Anyway, I'm back again. Hopefully you can hear me over the rain. It's early in the morning. It's currently about a little after 7. I'm on my way to work. This is going to be about Brett Kavanaugh, his confirmation. I've tried to do a video or two on this and had issues getting it finished. Let me just say right now, I'm undecided if he's guilty of the accusations against him, or I'm undecided on that. I'm going to go ahead and preface by saying that, I think he would make a good Supreme Court justice. I just don't think he's going to get there. And I'm not doing this video to support him. I'm not trying to do this to blast the accusations. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just putting my 2 cents on it. At the time of this recording, there are currently 3 main accusations against him. The first is through that Christine Blasey Ford, I think is the name, who said that he tried to rape her. The second, the other 2 I don't know the names on. The second accusation is the woman who says when they were in college, they were at a party and he exposed himself to her. And the third one is that he was present at parties where drugs and alcohol were used to gang rape women. To start off, I'm going to talk about Miss Ford because she's testifying today. There's no doubt in my mind that her coming forward like this is politically motivated. And the reason I say this is she's been known to be very much against Donald Trump. Been doing a lot of protests. She's part of the Never Trump movement. So the fact that she is coming out the way she did, and the fact that Dianne Feinstein held on to the accusations for a couple months, that tells me that this is all, that there's a certain degree of political motivation going on here. But her accusation is that he tried to rape her, blah, blah, blah. She didn't come forward and mention it to anyone until 2012. Here's why I question it. First off, she didn't mention it to anyone until 2012, after he had become a federal judge. Every single person she said has been there, witnessed it, everything else, has come forward and said, no, I wasn't there. I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't even know about the party. Matter of fact, there's been no one come forward and say they were there at the party, they knew anything about it, or they heard anything about it in the days afterwards at school. There has been a couple people claim they knew something about it, then came forward and said, no, actually she told us about it after the fact. And she didn't mention names until the session in 2012 with the psychiatrist. So that really raises some red flags. Matter of fact, one person even said that said that she supposedly heard about it at school. They were talking about it at school for a few days. She later on said no, she was just told about it after the fact. So the fact that she can't, literally every single person she says was a witness said no, I wasn't, that is what raises a red flag for me, and I don't think she did it. Also, I saw a report where she had done a polygraph test, which is only like 80 to 85% accurate, and fMRI would probably be better because it can get up to 90 some odd percent. I think it's like 98% accurate because it maps the brain's responses. I'd be much more confident in the decision if that had been done. But the one article I saw on this, and I have not gotten the actual results yet. I think they're waiting until after the hearing to disclose those. But they said there were inconsistencies in her story. So do I think she's telling the truth? I think something might have happened. I don't think. School bus. I think something happened. I just don't know what happened. We'll probably never know the truth on all these accusations. Something happened, whether it was with him, I don't know. The second one was when he was in college. He was at a party drinking and whatnot and exposed himself to a woman. I can actually see that happening because when I was in college, I had a car and there were a couple girls in the back seat, and don't you know, I'm assuming they had been drinking, but the horn started blowing. Next thing I knew, I happened to look over, and as soon as I turned my head, the girls in the back seat flashed me. They're on the main highway. Is it? And I know one of them was a nursing student at the same school because I'd seen her around before. And I had a class that was using one of the rooms in the building that primarily held the nursing school. And I'd seen her in there. So I know in college they do stupid things, especially when alcohol is involved. So I could see that happening, but that in and of itself I don't think would be a disqualifier. The biggest one, but do I think it could have happened? Yeah. The third, and even if that, and I will say if it was just the first claim, I think Kavanaugh could beat it. And even with the second claim, I think it's possible he could beat it. The third one is the hardest one to swallow, and that is the accusation that recently emerged of him being at parties where women were drugged and gang raped. So far, only one person has come forward saying this has happened, which seems to be par for the course. And also that second one, you notice there hasn't been much talk about. I think it's just the sandwich, and they're talking about the first and this last one because they're the bigger of the deals, and so the flashing, exposing incident kind of gets swept under the rug. But the third one, I think, will be the one that could most likely derail him. And that was where he was present at parties where women were gang raped. And now the articles I have seen says that they did not specify that he was doing it, but that he was present. There has not been a whole lot, anyone really else come forward saying that they had any knowledge or recollection of this happening. Just the one person. And there was a story on Politico, and I'll try to remember to grab a link when I upload this and put it in the description. And that is, there was a guy who had dated this woman for about 4 years and broke it off with her, and she threatened to kill him and everything else. This is the accusations, at least. And it died down after a while, and then he got married and it started up again. Then after he had his first kid, it happened again. It eventually got to the point in 2001 where the guy claimed, actually tried to file a restraining order. It was dismissed because of failure to pay advance fees. So basically, if he paid the fees, there's a good chance the restraining order would have gone through. Possibly. You never know about these situations. But the fact that it did happen, it does raise serious questions about her credibility, because if she's going to say stuff like that, make enough threats that were a request for a restraining order had been filed, that raises red flags, I know. And I think that will hurt. Could potentially help Kavanaugh. Now, you're probably wondering why these women are coming forward and making these statements. With, the fear of perjury and everything else. Here's the thing, they're trying to get special concessions where they wouldn't be testifying under oath. I don't know if the Senate has agreed to that with Ford. I've not seen anything disclosing the concessions made to get her in to testify. If you have a link, let me please feel free to put it in the description or in the comments section. I'd love to read that. I haven't seen anything on it. But I do think that's one of the things that she was trying to do. As far as, testifying under oath and everything else, I don't think people actually think about that far ahead as far as perjury and all that. Here's why. I've been working a secondary job, and we had, I did that for a couple of weeks, and last few days of that event, there was a section of the building that was roped off, and there were like large crates and stuff on one side, and the night before a chain had been put up to rope it off where no one could get back there. This man and woman with a baby and a stroller were going behind the ropes, and we were like, you can't go back there, it's a restricted area. And they said, why not? We came that way before, you blocked it off, you put these boxes in our way. They're like, those boxes had been there like 2 days at that point. And she was lying about it. And she said, well, I have a wheelchair at this end of the building. Well, I'd come from that end of the building. There was no wheelchair. She kept arguing. A police officer was there because it was closing time to help, and they were helping to get everyone out. And he said, look, you quit arguing. And it went back and forth for a little while. And eventually I said, you need to leave right now. Stop arguing, just leave. If need be, the officer will come down and escort you out of the building. Because she was making a bit of a scene. And she responded with, I didn't do anything. Why? Words were, why? I didn't do anything wrong. And like, you were going into a restricted area. But I came that way before. This had been completely blocked by large boxes, wooden crates actually, on one end for 2 days. There was a chain up, a little plastic chain roping off the other end the day before. That's when that was put up. There was no way she could have gone or been through there. And there was no wheelchair, trust me. But the fact of the matter is, she was willing to lie about it, because people like that, there's people like that who only think of themselves, are too nearsighted to see the ramifications of lying. So is it possible that they are lying about this and saying it was him? Yes, it is. It's possible that they are making these scenarios up entirely. It's possible that these events did happen, but it's someone else. And it's entirely possible that these events did happen. We don't know. We'll probably never know. I doubt Kavanaugh will get confirmed to the Supreme Court. Even though there's a part of me kind of wishes he would, because he did say some things I really liked. But at the end of the day, like I said, people don't seem to think about the ramifications. There are some people who will lie freely, willingly, and openly, with no fear of the ramifications, and they feel completely justified in lying, as long as it gets what they want. And I think that what they want is for Kavanaugh not to get the nomination. And the fact that these women who are making these claims against Kavanaugh are coming out and saying, they're wanting special concessions to come in there and testify, one of which, at least at one point for Ford, was not to be under oath, which means no perjury. That really, like I said, that's a red flag to me. I think something hinky's going on. Do I think they're afraid that they could get busted for lying? Yes. And the thing is, if you're telling the truth completely and totally, you have no reason to worry about lying. And while we're talking about hypocrisy, or while we're talking about this, let's talk about the hypocrisy of it all. There are people on the Democrat side that are willing to blast Kavanaugh for these events that may or may not have happened, treating as though they in fact did happen and wanting to just skewer him for it. Let's just remember in 2017, Keith Ellison beat the living crap out of his then girlfriend, who was apparently has pictures and video, but is afraid to release them on fear of her life. I saw that in an article. But she was very upfront from the get-go when she was seeking initial treatments that he did it. She has released the medical statements on that. And no one and it's like the Democrat side is trying to protect Ellison for this. They want to blast Kavanaugh. They even want to blast Trump for things he said that suggest that he has a less than stellar past when it comes to the treatment of women. But yet they have one amongst the ranks who there's apparently a great deal of evidence for, and they're circling around to protect him. Now, granted, you see that on the Republican side with Trump and with Kavanaugh. My thing is, I'm kind of sick and tired of the double standards and the hypocrisies and everything else. If you're going to blast Keith Ellison, you can't really defend some of the things Trump has said. And you can't just blindly say Kavanaugh didn't do it. While trying to blast Ellison and vice versa. The fact of the matter is, I don't know if Kavanaugh did it or not. I'm willing to hear them out. And I think some of the accusations are big enough that they warrant an investigation. I also think Keith Ellison, even though some of the events go way beyond the statute of limitations. As a matter of fact, there's only one of them that might warrant a federal claim where there would be no statute of limitations, and that's the last one. The last claim about gang raping and everything else, and drugs. That's kind of along the lines of what Bill Cosby did, and when you do stuff like that to the extent that allegedly happened, that does become a federal, that should, as far as I know, would cross the line into federal jurisdiction, and there would be no statute of limitations. And that could be investigated and prosecuted to this day. Everything else, no. There's nothing criminally can be done for that at this point. But with Ellison, this happened in 2017. This is 2018 at the time of this video. There's no statute. There are statute of limitations, but I'm willing to wager those have not expired yet. He could be criminally prosecuted, but there's no real cause, especially amongst the Democrats, to do so. You want to know who I think definitely needs to be investigated? It's him. But it doesn't seem to be happening. So, if you really, 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 really want Kavanaugh investigated criminally, show me you're willing to have Ellison criminally investigated, and we'll talk Kavanaugh. Because, from what I understand, there is evidence Ellison did this, and she's just afraid to come forward and produce it because she's afraid she's going to get killed because she's had threats. And the Democrats are still trying to make, seemingly trying to make him their darling. So, that's just my 2 cents on. Let's keep an open mind. It's possible in both cases that the accusations are wrong. And I'm willing to hear the testimony out. But I also want something done about this Ellison guy. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as the old saying goes. Anyway, I'm about to work now. I'm going to get off here and try to get this uploaded. And I'm going, like I said, that last story about the girlfriend being psycho, I'm going to try to include the link to that story. And if you have any better links or other links, be sure and drop them in the comments. Let me know what you think. Later.